Welcome to Scramble Game Show. When I scheduled this recording session, I did not realize it was right after a graduation day. I apologize. I have a pretty poor voice today because yesterday there was Somers High School graduation ceremony, and I have a son that's graduating, and I of course attended, and we have a graduation party afterwards. I think a little bit of too much partying and talking and so forth, and I sort of lost my voice. So I apologize today. This recording is supposed to be a talk show because we don't have a game. We just want to talk because certain things that it's on my mind, and we are also anticipating that the local election coming up in November, and candidates are starting their campaign, and we have seen people getting signatures, petitions signed up, and so forth. So what do we talk about today? We talk about politics. But let's first, before we begin about the local politics, we talk about a little bit the important news that we see. The most important news, which I think is important, is the recent news about spying or spying on private information or communication that of all citizenship. This is very serious, and I think you probably have read in the paper, on the television, and so on. Many people are concerned because apparently every day, you and I, every phone call we make, perhaps every email we send, are all being recorded and stored somewhere. Although the government claims that they are not looking at the content, they're simply trying to track the usage and the communication parties involved and so forth, so that they can correlate those information. Of course, this has all come out, practiced more rigorously after 9/11 in the year 2001. I do agree that for national security, with our people's security, you need to do some information gathering to prevent or discover any of these plots that is going on. However, if we do a blanket coverage on every single person, every minute of your sort of interaction or your communication with anybody, that seems to be pretty much, I would say, it's going overboard. Now, this is of course being debated now, probably in Congress and in media and in public. And while this is going on, recent news about a person, I think his name is Snowden, who threw a bombshell. He basically announced to the world while he's in Hong Kong, talking about the whole spying activities of the United States, of all people, not only foreigners, foreign country, but also domestically on all citizens. And this is the one that is now sort of leading to a further discussion and debate, and perhaps soon the Congress may have to do something about it. Although at this point I don't know what the debate is going one way or the other, my personal opinion is we are in a technology world. Certainly we could use technology to monitor, tracking sort of illegal activities or threatening activities. We should do that, but with one important notion, that is, we cannot really invade in the privacy of every individual. Okay, we must be able to utilize the technology to be selective. We must have a grounds or cause to monitor these type of things. So that's my opinion. So this sort of something that happened in the international scene, and it's interesting that it happens right sort of in the months when the new Chinese leader Xi Jinping visiting Obama in California. And prior to that, in fact, U.S. has drummed up a lot of charges that they attribute to is the hacking of computers in this country by the Chinese. And when the Chinese leader is here, basically he said, Chinese is just as a victim of this whole hacking business. Now with the Snowden's testimony and revealing, of course, then it's proven true that U.S. has been sort of spying on everyone is for a long, long time. So this type of development may lead into something that perhaps reasonable, because I think we do, as a free country, we value our freedom, we value our privacy, and we have to take actions that with sort of a grain of thought. We have to be careful, not stepping over the bounds. Okay, all right. We leave that aside. Let's see how these things evolve. But let's talk about local politics. Excuse me. Well, locally, as you know, that the November election, there are some local offices are for election, and the parties, namely the Republican Party and Democratic Party, they will be selecting their candidates. Some may have to go through a primary, and as you know, the election process, the campaign process, the first thing is to declare your candidate. You make your sort of being a valid candidate, you have to have enough signature petition to put you on a ballot. Okay, now you have to have endorser and a party endorsement, whether it's Republican or Democrat, Independents, Conservative, and family, working family, so on. So these things are now in motion. Okay, many candidates now pretty much have already secured their endorser. I mean, being, say, Republican candidate or Democratic candidate, or sometimes multiple endorser jointly endorsed by independent or working family or conservative. Now, I am from town of Somers, so I think we'll start out with talking about Somers. We may or may not have excuse me. Wow, this road is really getting bad. I think the problem was last night this party was first for a long time, and I usually don't talk that much, but during this party, and it's at a restaurant. The sound background level is so high, and you literally have to shout in order to make yourself heard. And so it's your partner who talks to you. So at an elevated voice for so long, and plus, of course, you are drinking a little bit, and I'm not a drinker. I think depends on certain wine. I don't know particular wine. Some wine may actually have this effect to make your throat very dry and make you sort of losing your voice a bit. And now I am in a very sad situation. Hopefully I can last this session, and apologize again. All right, Town of Somers. We have an interesting situation that our current town supervisor, Mary Beth Murphy, has announced that she will run for a position in the Westchester County as the county clerk. Okay, therefore vacate the supervisor position in Town of Somers. So that position is now being thought after by candidates. And as probably only today in the newspaper, now we know two candidates are running for this supervisor position. One is a Republican, Dick Morrissey, who has been serving as councilman for many years, and he's also a county, I think he's deputy commissioner in the health services department, or I don't know the title in that department. So he is running for the supervisor position as a Republican candidate. Now, on the Democratic side, for a long time, we haven't heard anything, and in fact, people sort of a rumor that, hey, maybe there's no Democratic candidate to run for this supervisor position. But in today or yesterday's paper, we did see that Christine Robbins has announced her candidacy for the supervisor. Christine Robbins is or has been maybe president of the League of Women Voters, as well as president of Women Club. So certainly has lots of women supporters probably behind her. And she made this decision, and very seriously, by declaring that, well, she used to be a snowbird, sort of, people claiming people spend the winter in Florida, coming back and forth from New York to Florida, call them snowbird. And she, in fact, made that remarks as she seriously considered this campaign, and she's going to give up the snowbird lifestyle, will be concentrating on serving the town of Somers. So that's the supervisor level, and as the town has a council, and the council has 5 members, and now there are 2 seats open for re-election, and so there are candidates on the Republican side as well as Democratic side. Okay, the Republican side, there are 2 candidates. One actually is incumbent in a sense. He was just elected last year, filling in for a position that is vacated by Harriet Harold Bolton, okay, for health reasons. Now, and this gentleman's name is Tony Sirico. Tony has served on the Somers School District School Board for 6 years, and he decided to okay, maybe not complete of 6 years, because last year he was elected as town council. Then he has to resign from the school board, right? So 5 years, let's say. He now is town councilman, and therefore he's an incumbent candidate for the council for the coming November election. And the second candidate is Bill Faulkner. Bill Faulkner is also fairly known in the town of Somers. He's the president of the Somers Education Foundation. Somers Education Foundation is a very respectable foundation in the sense that it has been helping Somers education in many ways. One important aspect is providing grants to educators in all Somers schools for initiating projects that is helpful to public education. And I have attended and I contributed as well. And I think the SEF has been a very, very good sort of asset in the Somers school district. So Bill Faulkner has declared his candidacy for running this councilman position. So that's the two people on the Republican side. On the Democratic side, interesting enough, again, similar in the situation of the supervisor, that for a while nobody sort of come up to declare candidacy, and the Republicans were a little bit hopeful, say, hey, there's no contest. But again, okay, in yesterday's paper, which is a local paper called Somers Record, I've read 2 candidates declared as a Democratic candidates run for the councilman. One, his name is Harvey Kriegberg. Harvey is actually currently a school board member on the Somers School District School Board. Harvey has been active in Heritage Hills, has been served as a president of the society, and as well as served as president of his condo. Now, so he, if it gets elected, of course, have to be resigning from the school board. Now, the second candidate, okay, his name is Christopher, right? Christopher somebody. Let me see. This is oh, sorry, Christopher Foley. Okay, sorry about forgetting about his name, because it just came out in the newspaper yesterday. I read it. Christopher actually has been involved with the town affairs for a long time. He's been on the zoning board as well as the planning board. Okay, now these 2 candidates also in the paper says has been endorsed by the conservative and working family as well. Now, when you are endorsed with one party, you basically have so-called one line, and you have one name in that box for that party line. And the more lines you have, of course, shows your name more times on the ballot, and people generally believe that's an advantage. Of course, one thing indicates you have more supporters in different party lines. Secondly, for those who come to the voting booth without too much preparation, sometimes just simply see the names. And when you see more names in more boxes, the same name, chances get hit is better. And that, of course, we hope is not the case, because you really should, as a voter, you should prepare yourself to read it from the newspapers and so forth, and watch this kind of show. Now, when we talk about watching this show, and I would like to tell the audience, we always open this forum, this particular Scramble Game Show, for elections, for candidates to come to the show, be interviewed, and talk about their issues, and talk about why they want to be running for this particular office, and what is the vision, and what do they really want to do and serve the community. Okay? Now, you, as a voter, you should demand them to be on this kind of forum. What can you get out of this local forum? You get plenty of talking time. And if you are afraid to be exposed in a local community like this, then perhaps you're not qualified to run for public office. The public voters have the right to know where you stand, what you believe in, how you think, and what sort of qualifications you will bring to the job. So I think voters should insist on having their representative or candidates for running offices to be on local public channels. Now, the public channel is by law provided for local communities that to have a voice and to have a communication sort of a channel so people can express their opinions, particularly on political issues and particularly about their communities and affairs and so forth. And we, I'm sorry. We have been doing this for many, many years. I always say we open this to public, to every party line, every candidate, okay? So long they just give me a call, send me an email, we'll set it up for interview. Ideally, I sometimes really like to see is to have debate, because as you see in our presidential election, and the debate is carrying a very, very important function, and voters do get to see and compare and select their president. Now, why can't we do it locally? We could. And again, I always feel that we should do that, and sometimes candidates avoid doing that. I don't know their rationale, okay? I really don't understand that. If candidate is afraid to debate with another candidate, there's got to be something wrong there. I mean, if you want to serve the public, you want to serve the community, the first thing you have to do, you have to be able to speak out and about your beliefs and your opinion and what you want to do for the community. So from now on till the whole month of July, I would reserve all the time for anybody, excuse me, anybody interested in talking about election or their candidacy, okay? So the reason I say only up to July is because I will take August off, and we'll resume in September. Of course, then September, October will continue on. And since this kind of a sort of discussion or interview is really local in the sense we are only talking about local issues, it really needs a lot of time and for people to talk details rather than these one-liner sort of slogan type of thing. We are not talking about ideology type of issues, rather really local matters. For example, one of the issues that concerning people is housing development. As you probably have seen, Westchester and Somerstown are required to build housing, and sometimes people even confused the housing is so-called working family housing or affordable housing or senior citizens housing and so on and so forth. And federal government is pressuring the county and the towns to do these things, and sometimes they do this overboard, in a sense, stepping over the people's rights, forcing people to change zoning laws and so on. Now, this type of issue is very much related to the local community's welfare. So the candidates must discuss them, must express their opinion, and we have to talk about solutions, right? So in that sense, the local interview, 30 minutes or an hour, it's not too much time. It can be devoted to one single candidate, and we can talk about things in detail. And my position as a host usually is I stay neutral and offer you opportunity to talk, and never confrontational, whether which party member is being interviewed. So this being said, and our time is running out, and this is sort of our introductory talk. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for these kind of interviews. And following this, probably you're going to see a half-an-hour history interview. It's very interesting. That's amazing. My throat.